What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ableton Music Producer Podcast. This is Dan Giffen. Today, we have Yeuda Ben-Atar on the podcast. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting this guy on the podcast for a while now. He is a guru amongst all the Ableton certified trainers out there in the world today. He also is the founder of the music production school called Beat Lab Academy. Really good stuff. We're going to talk all things about music production, the mental side of producing music. He shares some tips and tricks as far as staying inspired to produce music. He talks about the future of music production for artists and technology, all kinds of different things. So we're going to dive into that. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to give a big shout out to the company Melodics, which is sponsoring this episode. I'm a big fan. I've used their stuff. It's really fun to grow your skills and confidence producing on a MIDI keyboard, a pad controller, or electronic drums. It's an app that you can download on your computer. They make practicing really fun, relevant, and effective. They have a huge lesson variety and learning structure that helps put you in charge. It's practicing that's actually fun. You can look forward to it each day. It's basically just gamifying producing and lets you really learn new skills that actually will stick with you. You can download Melodics at melodics.com, MELODICS, and just use the discount code to get 20% off their monthly and annual subscription plan. The discount code is LPO-20. So that's LPO, like Live Producers Online, -20. And that'll save you 20% because saving money is great. And I definitely recommend using it if you want to grow your skills playing piano or whatever MIDI controller you're using. You can just plug it in and play. It's a good time. Check it out at melodics.com. Also, one more quick thing. I just released a series of mixing cheat sheets. If you didn't know, I would love to give them to you. These are just really quick hacks and tips and guides that I created and spent a lot of time on to help you improve your mixes using Ableton Live's devices and different workflows. And if you're newer to mixing, this is a really great way to get started to improve the quality of your tracks. It's all free. It's on liveproducersonline.com/mixing. And even if you're a little more experienced producing or mixing, you might pick up a couple extra pro tips in there. So check that out, liveproducersonline.com/mixing. I will be releasing an Ableton Live mixing course soon through my site, liveproducersonline.com. Check that out. Much love to all of you guys. Also, if you do not own Ableton Live 10 Suite or Standard yet, I would be glad to hook you up with a big homie discount. Just go to liveproducersonline.com/buyableton and I'll be happy to hook you up. And without further ado, here is today's episode with Yeuda. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ableton Music Producer Podcast. This is Dan Giffen, as always. Today, we have an extra special guest with us I'm really stoked for. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do this for a while now. And finally, this day has arrived. We have Yeuda Ben-Atar with us. If you don't know him, he's a legend amongst Ableton certified trainers. He's been in the game for a long time. He's the founder of the Los Angeles-based music school called Beat Lab Academy, which is really awesome. He produces under the name Sidebrain, and he's taught thousands and thousands of people how to make music. He was also a keynote speaker. I saw him speak, I think it was 2019 Loop conference in Los Angeles, which was amazing. Like, you are kind of a guru when it comes to shortcuts with like the MIDI clip, and you produce this ridiculous jazz progression type of thing in the matter of like 4 minutes. And I think everybody's minds like melted out of their heads. It was really, really cool. But yeah, you do a lot of things. You're a busy guy, so thanks for taking time to hang out today.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, man, so how are you these days? I mean, I know there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now, but you're still teaching through your school Beat Lab and
Right.
all these things. Like, what are you up
Yeah.
to right now?
So it is extremely crazy right now. I do have 2 kids, so school is also out. So that's on
Yeah.
top of everything, adding to the challenge
Yeah.
of homeschooling. They're coming back to school like next week.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But the
That's a lot.
school, we were closed with the school. My Beat Lab Academy was closed for like 3 months during the pandemic. So now we're
Wow.
very excited to come back to actual physical classroom while also trying to incorporate as much online as possible. Everything consider everything, I'm okay. I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely challenging times and new kind of experiences that I never experienced with all this crazy pandemic.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, it's been a big shift in the whole educational world, and you have even like kindergarten teachers trying to keep these kids
Right.
like entertained online right now, which I'm sure is a task. But with your school shifting online, and I know for me teaching, a lot of people I think are under the mentality that now is the best time to be making music just to stay sane and pursue
Absolutely.
a career. It's still possible and all these things. So I'm
I
sure.
can tell you for myself, when I just those 3 months where the school was closed, I came back playing guitar after a while that it was just playing some chords for the kids. Came back pretty seriously, took some courses online as well. So
Awesome.
it had its advantages of kind of locking us up at the
Yeah.
house
Yeah.
and just diving deep.
Well, maybe you could just enroll your kids into Beat Lab and then
Right.
you can
I
knock.
mean, they're there almost every day since we opened
Okay.
up, yeah, because
There
they
you
don't have
go.
school. So they
Yeah.
do come with me. We have a huge live room with a lot of like instruments and synths and stuff, and there's a huge projector there. So
Nice.
I bring the Xbox, we put some Fortnite. They go
Yes.
crazy on the big screen. I wish I had that big screen where I grew up.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
cool. So yeah, the kids, school is doing good, and the kids eventually already we have electronic drum set at home. We have some guitars and stuff.
There you
So
go. Very
they're
musical
showing, they're
family.
showing, yeah. I don't know from where, because none of my family except my brother, like my parents and my grandparents, or at least from what I know, there wasn't never any musicality
Really?
apparent.
Really?
So I'm not sure where it came from, but I
Yeah.
think it's also a mixture of technology
Yeah.
interests that I have kind of
Sure.
mix the things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good segue. Like, talk about your history and how you grew up and how music kind of became a career path for you right now.
Absolutely. So obviously, with my accent, I'm not American. I was born in Israel, and I moved here only when I was about 23
Yeah.
after the army. So in Israel, you have to go to the army when you're 18 for 3 years. Women go for 2 years. It's mandatory.
Yeah.
And I was a dog trainer in the army, which was also
Really?
cool.
That
So it
is actually
wasn't.
awesome.
It is. It was cool. It was cool. I had like 95 dogs at the time, kind
Wow.
of covering the entire army base around, and I had to kind of train everyone. Anyway,
That's pretty
so
cool.
that was the army,
Yeah.
unrelated to music. Although it did, I will tell you this, and then I'll trace back to early than the army. The army, because I hated so much the structure of, you just put in a place where I don't want to say owned by someone else, but they tell you exactly what to do, when to do.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like that, especially I was young, I was 18. They give you a rifle, right? They give you a gun, you have to shoot. So it
Yeah.
wasn't a good experience for me. So music was definitely an escape. At the time, I don't even remember what year it was, but at the time, I mean, in the 90s, we had Napster, right? The sharing of songs between computers. Then it got some legal issues and got closed down. And one of the leftovers that got from that file sharing, music sharing services was SoulSeek. It still exists. I don't know if
Yeah.
people know
I've heard of it.
SoulSeek.
I've heard
I
of it.
went hardcore deep into that, finding every new music I can possibly find. Any new music, as long as I never heard it before, I
Yeah.
want to hear it.
Yeah.
And that was my 3 years of having one earpiece in my left ear, right here, hearing commands from my commander, and just listening to music. That was kind of my escape from that world
Yeah.
that I was forced to be in. So that really helped with my, I guess, yearning to learn music and to understand it better by
Sure.
just listening to so much
Sure.
different styles and different vibes of music. So before the army, when I was young, I started piano, and I tell that to my students a lot. I started piano because I went to a friend's place. I think it was fourth, fifth grade, something like that. I went to a friend's place, and he played sick blues piano.
Nice.
Dude my age. I was like in fourth grade. He played sick.
That's awesome.
And I got so jealous. So I told my mom, listen, mom, I need to start playing piano. It's, I was extremely jealous. And that kind of pushed me to go into piano for a couple of years. Then
Yeah.
I stopped. In the sixth grade, I had a friend his dad was a jazz musician, and he had a bunch of like electronic pieces of equipment at home. And he got me into FL Studio.
Hmm.
Fruity Loops Beta.
I was gonna
That
say
was
that
99.
that
That was
must have
at the
been
time.
the old
Oh
school
my God. Fruity
FL.
Loops Beta, it was like
Yeah.
with black dots. It didn't look like it looks today at all.
Wow.
And we started doing like this dissing songs on each other's moms on Fruity Loops, just like hip hop songs, silly stuff.
Yeah.
Silly
Yeah.
stuff. But that's what got me into the music technology very early on. And then from there on, that was puberty hit. So
Yeah.
obviously I picked up a guitar.
Yeah.
wanted to play. I come from like city Haifa, which is used to be still a lot of punk rock.
Okay.
So I started playing guitar, punk rock, bands, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I got into the army. Right before the army, I found weed. And then, my entire music, clothing, everything changed.
Right.
Started playing didgeridoo, bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it got real weird real fast.
Yeah, I got really weird for a moment there, right before the
Yeah.
army. And then, after the army, then when I went to actual music school, I moved out to like a different city, to Tel Aviv, like the main city in Israel.
Yeah.
And went to music school. And there, I can tell you, I didn't have the best experience in my elementary, middle school, and high school in regards to education.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to like, I never had a teacher who was like a mentor. Like I couldn't feel like I could really appreciate and look up to them.
Right.
But in music school, I found a few, and that really changed the way I was learning. It was amazing. There are some amazing people in Israel, especially the music history teacher was incredible. Every lesson, your mind explodes.
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked about, felt happy to just wake up and go learn. I love that.
No, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that hunger to learn takes you much farther no matter what you're pursuing, having that passion for something.
I think it's the mystery of the unknown, of even like looking at a fancy synthesizer for the first time. There is something there about the mystery of the unknown, that I want to know everything.
Right.
So that
it's worked out for you in a lot of ways. So you're doing great things.
Thank you, and I do appreciate music. If you can never stop learning music. Right. So same for overall, obviously for just regular general music knowledge.
Yeah, no, it's
never ending.
Music is a black hole. Like I'm still working on my music theory right now because I think that in itself can take you down so many rabbit trails.
I'm a music theory nerd.
Playing different instruments. Oh, I know you are. I've seen tutorials for sure. But yeah, I mean, Israel is a really long drive from Los Angeles. So like, how did you get there?
Like I'm in a neighborhood group. I'm living in Eagle Rock in Los Angeles. It's a neighborhood. We have a neighborhood group on Facebook. Someone wrote, how far away from you from home? And I see all these people, 2,000 miles, 5,000 miles. Yes, Israel is very far.
Yes.
I don't remember how much was it, like 10,000, something like that.
Yeah.
So I would say before the kids, it was fine because today it's quite easy to travel, even though the flight is like 16 hours, which is long, 14, 15. Yeah. But then when the kids came, that became very challenging traveling for afar. But all my family is there. They're coming at least once a year, or I go at least once a year. Nice. I have many nieces and nephews there. It's a big family. Good. So it's awesome. And I try to talk Hebrew to my kids as much as possible. So they obviously will get English just by growing up here. But it would be nice to have that second language. But man, Israel is, I don't know if any one of the listeners never been or don't know much about Israel besides what they hear about the news. Put politics aside, it's an amazing land, amazing country. Everyone speaks English. The food is incredible. There's a lot of different places to see. And if you are even religious in some way, I'm kind of secular, but if you are religious in some way, all religious movements have something to find there. It's holy to every religion possible. Yeah. Even more obscure religions like the Baha'i. I grew up in Haifa. There's a religion Baha'i. Oh, it's a people. I don't know if it's really a religion, but they have the Baha'i temple in Haifa where I grew up. It's beautiful gardens. It's crazy. If anyone saw it on Google, Baha'i temple in Haifa, Israel, it's insane. So I cannot say enough good things about Israel. Obviously, politics are kind of like the same. It's a reflection of the U.S. Yeah. It's what happens in the US happens in Israel. Corona situation, like the COVID, same thing. It's the kind of opening, closing, because there's resurgence. When it comes to politics right now, it's right wing. Trump's best friend is in Israel, Bibi. Riots in the street right now because of the situation. Not riots, protests
Yeah, I've
But
heard a little bit. Yeah,
yes,
but I try to pull back from the news every once in a while to give
you
my
should.
brain a restart, you know. But I've heard things like that similarly, and I've always wanted to go to Israel. You know, I don't consider myself a very religious person, but I think it has some amazing, beautiful history. It's
Oh
been on
my
my
God.
to-do list for a while, and flights right now are pretty cheap if you feel like taking that risk. But yeah,
And yeah, the only thing, if you do decide to go right now, I think you might have to go to like self quarantine for 2 weeks if you
okay,
enter, but it's
really,
worth it. Just
yeah.
for the food, it's worth it.
Oh, I would
Just
go
for
for
the
the food,
just
just for
for
the
the
food.
just for the beach
Hmm.
that is the Mediterranean. If you ever been like here to the, at least for me, the Pacific Ocean,
Yeah,
what is that? That's not that's
that's
super
not a
cold
thing.
all year. It's
Yeah,
frightening from the size of it. It's just massive. It's an ocean, but
yeah.
the sea, you can go at the summer.
Yeah.
You can go at night in the water. It's incredible. I can't recommend Israel enough. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, I would someday. It's on my to-do list for sure. Someday for
Yes,
sure.
and if you're a young Jewish person that can prove that he's Jewish, you can go to Israel for free. If you're American Jewish, there's a
Really?
lot of yes, a lot of programs.
That's amazing. Cool. Well, let's talk some music stuff too.
Yes.
I want to pick your brain. We've talked about your music background. How did that lead you to starting Beat Lab Academy? Like, how did
Oh, so
that come
yeah,
about?
so I started with Fruity Loops. Then in music school, we used Cubase.
Okay.
Cubase was okay,
Yeah. I
but
like
it wasn't.
Cubase.
It's so
Yeah.
powerful. But at the time when I was in music school, something about it wasn't fluid enough
Yeah.
for my creation, for my inspiration.
Yeah.
And I was still a songwriter, guitar and stuff. But with the computer making beats, I loved Jay Dilla. I had the
Oh yeah.
as soon as I
It's a
moved to,
classic.
it was a sign from God. Although I don't believe God, it was a sign from God. I moved to Tel Aviv. The first day, I look on Craigslist, Israel, the Craigslist Tel Aviv, MPC, like it's a sampler, right? MPC,
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
sampler. I found someone MPC 2000 XL, exactly what I wanted. He has some upgrade with instead of the floppy, has a flash drive, everything. Okay, where do you live? He was next door to my new apartment that I just moved into Tel
No
Aviv.
way.
So that was a sign from God. I still have the MPC at the school.
That's amazing.
So I was kind of a mixture, a hybrid singer-songwriter, but love Jay Dilla beats.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and coincidentally, I don't even remember how I found Ableton online, music school. So I started using Ableton, fell in love with it,
Yeah.
start telling everyone it's cool, dude. Ableton.
This was like
Forget
2006, right?
something like that. I think
Okay. I saw
2000.
your
Yeah.
profile. It said 2006. Ableton Live 6 is when you started dabbling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever Ableton Live 6 was at the
Yeah.
time, right before Ableton Live 7. I used it for like a couple of months, and Ableton Live 7 came out. And I got everyone on it, all the school. And they start then after like, I think the second or third year of school, they start actually teaching Ableton, which was amazing.
Awesome.
And ever since, it's
Happily ever after.
yes. And then after the army, I moved to the US. That was always in my mind to open up a school.
Yeah.
Only after I got certified as an Ableton trainer, I started working in other music schools, SAE, and a bunch of stuff like that. And then I also had a studio very close by in Glassell Park, just doing privates. And one day a dude came by. He really liked the private session. He said, I'm going to bring some friends. He brought like 4 friends, and we did a session, and they all loved it. And then he said, dude, listen, you got to open up a school. I said, I know, I'm thinking about it for a long time, but it's just a leap, right? You have to take a risk, get investment money, open up a business. And he kind of helped me and pushed me to do it. And
That's
that was
great.
5 years ago. Yeah, that was 5 years ago. And ever since, I love it. I love it so much, the school.
So does he get
community.
free lessons from you now since he helped you with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, no, for sure. He gets everything.
Good. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad he did that because you have some great programs and things.
Thank you, yes.
Hey, we wanted to take a quick break and just remind you that if you haven't checked out melodics.com, melodics.com, definitely check it out. It's a great way to gamify your practice with maybe it's finger drumming or playing keyboard. There's a lot of different fun ways to learn music production and to improve your skills in a lot of ways on melodics.com. So go there, save some money on the monthly subscription or annual plan by entering the discount code LPO-20. That'll save you 20%, save your piggy bank. Go to melodics.com, LPO-20. I highly recommend giving it a try. It's a really fun way to grow your skills producing. So yeah, now back to today's episode. Yeah, so I mean, right now there's a lot of online teaching going on right now, and
Mm,
I
mhm.
and I teach as well, and I'm seeing a lot of students that, not even my students, but just artists in general, having a hard time staying inspired
Yes.
with producing these days. And I
Mhm.
think as an educator, and I've heard you talk about being inspired and things like that through other tutorials and videos and webinars. For you, what is some of the best advice you could give an artist who maybe has already started producing, knows the basics, but is just really struggling to keep that inspiration, that fuel to keep driving him through these crazy times, to keep making music, to do what they love? Like,
Right. That's a very good question. And it's a very tricky question because we are facing, unprecedented times. I would say that a couple of things that might have been one of the most field resources with inspiration was the live shows that we no
yeah,
longer have.
yeah,
Sometimes I went to like club, a show. I came
mhm,
back so inspired I didn't go to sleep. I just made music.
yeah,
So that's something that kind of was taken away. And another thing that is somewhat was taken away is also the social interactions where we're a lot of times that's sometimes why we make the music to play it to other people so they get excited and we feel good about that.
yeah,
And that might also have gone missing, especially even when we talk about like this all this Zoom and the online meetings and all those stuff.
hmm,
It's hard to get interaction. For example, Zoom performances, live shows from Zoom, um, they can hear like people clapping or getting some interaction with the audience.
yeah,
So I would say that the interaction is might be the biggest thing when it comes to inspiration.
mm,
Because right now we're talking about music inspiration, but maybe we can even take it to working out. It might
yeah,
even be hard to get inspired to work out right now because of the I would say because of the lack of social interaction. So
hmm,
if you're lacking inspirations, I would say the best thing to do right now, besides obviously listening to new music is always a source of good inspiration,
yes, yes,
is to try to get more social interaction as much as possible, and if possible, in groups, because that is something that can push us to. If we go right now to a listening session and like five people, everyone play the recent beats, we're gonna get jealous or upset or whatever it may be
yeah,
internally. We're not expressing it, but internally. So that will push us, will give us the fuel to go
yeah,
back and work some more. And that also comes with like any other form of the things that this isolation cause us to do. It's very hard. I'm also
totally,
struggling with the inspiration with the music. Some
yeah,
days it's easy. Some days it's like there's no way I'm
hmm,
even opening the computer.
yeah. I think especially for producers, because when you're hunched over a computer in a dark cave, all day long, sometimes it's good to get exercise, to go out, see the
So
sunlight,
important.
to see
Yeah.
other faces, when you're just staring at a computer screen and listening to the same 16 bar loop.
So
So,
important. So
yeah,
important. You also start, if you do that so much, you start to overthink. And
yeah,
that might be one of
yeah,
the workflow killers, right?
hmm,
Overthinking.
yeah,
So yeah, I completely agree. Challenging times, if somehow to find a way to socially gather with safety,
hmm,
to bring back the inspiration. You need those other people. That's why we make music.
yeah,
We might, still play for pleasure if we're on a lonely island. Just play
hmm,
some guitar and stuff.
yeah.
But I don't think we'll do much recording
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, music is
for other
therapy in a lot
people.
of ways. Now, I've
Yeah.
been I've been really fortunate to stay inspired in some ways. Actually, there's a Jewish rapper named Modest Yahoo.
Oh,
Are you familiar
Matisal,
with
yeah,
him?
of course, love
Yeah,
him.
so we're actually my band Philia and him are playing a drive-in show together in Indianapolis
Wow.
in 2 weeks, and so
All
it's all.
reggae?
No, I mean we are more like funk electronic jam music, and
Mm.
I'm sure you know his music too. So it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it is very different in some ways. But we got booked for a small festival together, which I'm looking forward to because it's like I've been in that dark cave for so long and needing that inspiration just to get out of the house and play again. So I'm really fortunate to be able to do that. So
Wait, it's a venue with gonna be people in the venue?
yeah, it's an outdoor
Audience?
festival. So it's a drive-in.
Oh.
It's a drive-in
Oh,
theater.
it's all driving. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Wow, I
Um,
would love to hear your experience. How was your
I'm
experience about that?
excited. But yeah, so let's talk more about you. What do you see for the future of artists making a career with music? And I'm sure that's a
Mm.
question you get a lot with Beat Lab. Students are enrolling. They're like, screw the traditional 4-year university program, paying $100,000 or whatever. I'm coming to you. This is my passion. This is what I love. When you meet those students and they say, how can I feed myself more than oatmeal and cereal every day doing
Mhm.
what I love? Like, what's your answer to those students who are wanting to pursue a
That's
career?
another very good question, Dan. There's, I mean, there's a few layers here of making it today as an artist. First, I would say that those 4-year college degrees in music business, in whatever it may be, they may help in the knowledge side, but I would say they were always obsolete. When it comes to musicians, they were always unnecessary, futile. Our program, we just give knowledge and tools, and it's very concise because we don't have to add the academic criteria.
Right.
So it's very kind of concise to just to the point, but again, musicianship uh, and all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
But today, I mean, first of all, if you do want to become just a working musician, there are many avenues that you can take. If you want to do your own personal music, that might be very challenging today. You'll have to work with a team, a branding team. Like it takes a lot to be a own personal artist today. But I do see that there's a lot of opportunities for musicians to do sync music, like for commercials and video games and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of work as producers to work with other artists, as studio musicians if you're good enough. But it's a hustle.
Yeah.
You have to do multiple things.
Yeah.
I would say that if you are looking into the future, maybe the gaming industry might be a good thing to go into as a
Yeah.
musician, meaning still being the musician and composing for video games, but also knowing those systems that they use in order to adapt and go into the industry in the smoothest way. So video games, I would say that's a great. And now
Yeah.
another challenge that modern musicians have right now is the live shows. I'm happy to hear that you have in one, but that's a main source of income for a lot of touring musicians that lost
Right.
it.
Right.
So I'm not sure how that's going to happen because, like I mentioned before, the Zoom live shows. The only thing is about them is there's no interaction with the
No.
audience.
Right. Right.
Why
Yeah.
are we even doing this?
It's,
Like it's why not on Spotify? What's the difference? That's the
I feel
main
the
thing.
same way. I
The
feel the same
interaction,
way. Yeah. Yeah. And even when you're just chatting with other people, live on Twitch or whatever, it's still not the same just sharing emojis than is sharing like that energy in person. It's always different.
right?
It's not the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's much less tangible. You feel like an invincible army in some way when you
Right.
chat in there with everyone.
Totally.
It's, everyone's invincible. Yeah, absolutely. But I hope soon we'll come back to that. I hope that's it's not
Hmm.
a changing thing of the live shows. I hope we'll go back to regular live shows because it's important.
Yeah.
And classroom, I can tell you, we do a lot of online classes, and now we came back to our physical classes. There's definitely a extra layer of interaction in the
Yeah.
physical class that it might maybe be very important for education.
Yeah. No,
But I just want to add one more thing.
go
On the
ahead.
contrary, we had one class that the majority of it, our program is 6 months at BeatLab. We had one class that the majority of it were at home because of the COVID.
Right.
Their finals were amazing.
Really.
I'm assuming because they just had time at home. They were
Right.
just stuck at home. Why not
Yeah.
just make music?
Yeah.
So again,
Makes-
plus and minuses here.
No, this is true. This is true. I mean, for a lot of people who are unemployment, some of them are making more money than they were working at the pizza shop, and then they all have all this extra time to invest in their music. So
Absolutely.
that's great for Ableton and buying push twos and everything else. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. But you talked about the gaming industry and, making a career, and that is definitely a lucrative business right now, with everybody stuck at home as well. It's booming. I did a recent podcast with a guy named Elliot Callaghan, and he's heavy in the game industry, but he read a statistic that in 2017 the US game industry was worth $18.4 billion. So we know that's not going away anywhere. So anybody who wants to produce music for video games, that could be a great idea.
Absolutely. And it's just growing, the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've talked a little bit about like what's happening right now. Let's think towards the future in a sense. And I'd love to pick your brain on what do you see for the future in the sense of like technology? Like how is technology shaping how music is produced right now?
That's a very good, okay, excellent question. Love that question. A few predictions, and
Okay.
those are all assumptions. I would say, let's first put what I would love to see. It seems like we're still forever only creating music for our human hearing range, 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. If we
Right.
make music anything below or above it, we can't hear it. We cannot consume it in some
Yeah.
way.
Unless you're a
Although
dog.
unless you're a dog, or yeah, or a planet, you can hear
Right.
that sub frequency.
Yeah.
So there is assumption that there are some theories that makes actually affect, like all the supersonic and subsonic. If you have them, they do affect in some way, and those supersonic microphones and so on. But I would love at some point where we're starting to get some more enhancements for the human body to maybe install some device underneath the ear here that will expand the human hearing range. And
Wow.
then I will be very interested to see how many more tools does it give us as musicians. So that's one thing, because what made me think about it is the limit of the speakers, like the amplification that we have. You go 30 years, it still sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
It still sounds pretty good. Like amplification didn't go so far, considering other fields of technology that exponentially grew. Like the speakers and the studio monitors, okay, they're better, but it's not like revolutionary. Maybe the Bose, like the small ones, maybe that was somewhat revolutionary with the size.
Yeah.
So that made me think about expanding the human hearing range. Besides that, when it comes to creation, I would say when it regards to music, what I see is this, and I don't know how long, 10, 20, 30 years. At some point, our role as a musician is going to switch. It's going to morph into somewhat more of a conductor rather than an actual active musician. So we'll probably kind of give the computer or an AI or some sort a system of rules, just kind of like, hey, I want it to be in C major, and I want to be that, I want you to use these instruments, and I want kind of a system of rules, but the computer will actually make the music because there might not be a point anymore to do it. Why sit on Ableton for 5 hours a day when I can talk to Siri and tell her exactly what I want? So
that's wild. That's a wild thought.
Obviously there's going to be a lot of customization so people can go deep and stuff.
Right.
But I would say that at the end, there might no longer be a need for offline musicians, for musicians who are not on stage. We'll see. I don't know. Because we're going to see algorithmic music, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, we'll get to a point where the algorithmic music, the AI music, is better than the human music. That's, inevitable. I think that's inevitable.
That's an interesting conversation. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, absolutely. I do want to mention something about this, the live performance. Because if we can get to a point where you can make a humanoid, a robot that looks like a human, exactly, are we going to mind if it's going to look and sound exactly on stage? Are we going to mind it's not real people?
I personally would. I think that would drive me crazy.
Right, but right now we're thinking in our modern minds of common sense.
Right.
When robots are going to be like, you're going to see them everywhere. You're going to go to the bus stop. It's going to be a robot helping you go on the bus, whatever it may be. That maybe we'll think differently about it, but I don't know.
I think that hits too close to home for animatronics for me, which those things creep me out. You ever go to Chuck E. Cheese and you see them like dancing around? It's a creepy thing.
It's super creepy. But I'm talking about, like, if you look at me and I'm a robot. We don't know.
Right. That's pretty wild thought. It really is. And I mean, we all know machine learning and AI is getting better and smarter over the years.
Better. And I think they're going to be on the verge of breaking through that next level of general AI at some point in the near future. Yeah. And then it's the sky is the limit. The sky is not the limit.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a few people on the podcast. One of them, she produced under the name Azuki, but she developed some machine learning Max for Live patches and software, and it's interesting. And we had this conversation about, does it matter for the end listener whether a human made it or not if it sounds very similar? And for me personally, I feel like there is like a human expression of like putting your energy into something that makes it really unique. And I think in some sense people feel that. So I don't know, but I think it is a wild idea, like you said, to be able to tell the computer what you want. And I think we've even seen some of that. Like you look at, on a very small scale, like we have Max for Live devices like Scale-O-Mat, right? You can lock in any MIDI track to any key that you want, and it just smash your head on a keyboard and it's going to play that in key no matter what. That's like, maybe that'll just evolve and get smarter and smarter to the point of just voice recognition and be like, I want to play in C minor, make it funky, make it like a dirty electronic 16 bars of something, and then it just pops it out like a little slot machine. It'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
interesting.
Another thing I was thinking about is noise pollution, which is annoying and is real, right? On like anything from loud trucks to airplanes to just people honking to other people playing music. So there might be very soon,
Yeah.
maybe that will be solved by just everyone hearing the music inside their minds instead
Yeah.
of actually out,
Right.
internally instead of
Yeah.
so that might be another thing. But so I'm very excited thing in the future. I think the biggest thing to take away from this short conversation about the future is that now is the time to make music.
Yeah.
Right now is you need to seize the moment and make the music because we don't know how long we have until it might look a bit differently than what we know. Very exciting, and
Yeah.
we're probably going to have insane music.
Yeah.
Insane, think once the computers can do that, think that every new song is going to be a masterpiece. Because there might be just a number of masterpieces you can think in your head. Everything else is just like, okay, it's cool music, it's a cool song. So eventually, the computer is going to be so good. Every second is going to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So you can't compete that.
It's a pretty amazing thought for sure.
But as a consumer of music, we're going to enjoy like the craziest music ever.
That's true. That's true. I already listened to a lot of really weird music, so I can only imagine what my AI bot would make for me. It'd probably be really weird. But yeah, so okay, let's talk about some Ableton Live stuff because we're both Ableton Live like nerds here.
Yes.
We love this. So if you had to choose one instrument from Ableton Live 10, one MIDI effect and one audio effect that you could only use in all your projects for the rest of your life, what would they be?
I would say my go-to instrument. That's hard. Probably
It's hard.
wavetable, I would say.
I knew you were going to say
I can be a
it.
smart ass and say instrument rack, but I don't know if that's a valid answer. MIDI effect, definitely arpeggiator, although I use the other ones extensively, but the arpeggiator is always great. And always will be a go-to.
It really is.
For the audio effect, I would this I always tell my students, in Ableton on the browser, you can right-click in the right column and choose a rank, so you can list them by rank. How common, how often you use each effect. For me, it's auto filter, and that's also the one I will take to Deserted Island or whatever it may be. If it's the only one I could use, mostly because it's just a useful tool. I compare it. I give an analogy of other professions. Think of the most used tool in that profession. Let's say the doctor, the surgeon has the scalpel. That's like his most go-to. Yeah, that's ours in music producers. Filter, the number one.
Oh, too. That's true. I mean, you've got it's an EQ married into like an LFO with like it's all of that just into one nice little beautiful toy. I'd say for me, I'd have to say probably operator, either auto filter or echo. I'd probably say echo.
Oh, echo, echo is amazing.
And,
I love that.
And then maybe probably the velocity MIDI effect.
Velocity MIDI effect?
Yeah.
You can do a lot with that.
I think so. Well. I think that's my three choices. But yeah, that's good answer. What about VSTs? If we had to talk, what are some of your favorite plugins that you've recently discovered or have used over a lifetime?
For sounds specifically, my go-to are usually Contact, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. It's not just one.
That's a
lot.
An
Omnisphere, just because of the vast, access to them.
Yeah.
Immediately, you get access to so many sounds.
So many sounds.
It's sick. I also love Reactor because you got some amazing stuff there. I love Reactor. When it comes to more mixing and mastering, I mix and match, dude. I'm addicted to plugins, always was.
Yeah.
I was the guy in music school where you called to, hey, dude, can you get me that plugin? I was that dude. So I was addictive to plugins. I still am. Luckily, today I'm a school, essentially. So companies just give me plugins.
That's nice.
But I was definitely a try before you buy in the past.
Right.
When I was a young producer.
The free extended trial.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's hard for me to tell because I love so many. It's a lot of. I tell my students also, like, plugin. When it comes to plugins, yes, you will see the common ones, the ones that the fab filter, the isotope. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot. It's all zeros and ones. They're all programming the same thing. No one has secret tools, maybe secret formulas and equations. But there are a lot of great developers out there. There's so many amazing plugins, and you might find one of your favorite artists mixing with a fab filter and the other favorite artist mixing with waves and the other mixing. So when it comes to mixing and mastering, there's so many amazing stuff out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of options, to say the least. and you get hit with all those Facebook ads like 50% off. There's always a sale, right? Every holiday. It's like it's
Always.
National Ice Cream Day, 50% off sound toys. It's like whatever. It's true.
Can't complain. Can't complain
You
about that.
can't. No, it's great. Well, I know that BeatLab releases a lot of free toys and effects and
Oh yeah.
all types
So
of things.
before BeatLab, I also have a side thing which is Sidebrain. That's my artist name. I have a
Yes.
blog called sidebrain.net. I could sidebrain.com owned by I don't know a couple of Asians. I couldn't get the domain. I'm still trying to reach out. They're unreachable.
It's the
I think
worst.
Japanese.
It's happened to me too.
So sidebrain.net for years now. It's just a blog where you can get a lot of free Ableton Live racks.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. I just downloaded your newest one. It's the drum rack glitcher.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but I'm sure it's
and
good.
from BeatLab, we did have a lot of Max for Live exclusives. So we took some of them are me taking existing devices and modding them. Like there's the Afro House. It's a Max for Live. Afro House. Instant House. It's a Max for Live device that I just built in house rhythms. You throw it before a drum rack. You hit spacebar. It just gives you house music. I mean house drums.
Oh, nice. Just like
So
four on the floor kick.
It's built in. It's built in on Max for Live Essentials. You can download it directly from Ableton.
Nice.
If you have Ableton Suite. So I took that, I modded it to be instant Afro. So instead of house rhythms, now it has reggaeton, dancehall, and Afrobeat rhythms.
Awesome.
And it's super fun. So stuff like that. We have an instant sampler where immediately you can sing something. I usually do like ooh or ah, and then immediately I turn it into an instrument. So we have a bunch of stuff. Auto-tune. On the blog. We have a lot of free downloads.
Yeah. People love free stuff, including myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt.
No, there's a lot of like happy
price.
effects racks. I like to call them like little happy accidents because you just throw it on there and you might find something weird and it just turns into something great that you never would have done otherwise.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about upcoming projects. You mentioned Sidebrain.
Yes.
I was actually, before I hit record, I was telling you, for all the listeners, that I was listening to some of your older tracks on my Alexa app, and I didn't realize that like the next day it was still on your profile with Sidebrain. And I was listening to it and I was like, this is so good. Who is this? And I like looked at my phone. I was like, oh wow, that's Yeuda. Nice.
Thanks,
sounded
man.
great. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Wow. Music, as always and always, will be more of a very, I don't know, it's a passion, but it was never kind of like releasing it. My main goal, to be honest, here, since I was young, I wanted to be recognized without being known. So that means that my releasing of the music was never top priority. I have endless music on my computer. Endless.
Yeah.
Great stuff from all ranges of, I like to make a lot of different styles because of what we talked about, that fanatic 3 years of listening to music all day, every day.
Yeah.
Kind of really got me in love with all types of music. So I can't say that there's obvious projects that are planned right now coming up. Some here and there I have a few co-productions I do with other people or mixing projects I mix. But for me, there might be a few beats coming up. There's a lot of recent stuff I'm making. But future projects, I don't know. I'm not as active musician as I would like to be.
Yeah.
I did used to perform a lot. Like 3 years ago, I stopped. Performed a lot around LA. I used to love it because I take, in my live shows, I take all video game controllers, and that's how I play my music. If you go on Sidebrain and search on YouTube, you can see me play on Nintendo.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's great.
Power Glove, stuff like that.
I love it.
So that was fun. That really inspired me and pushed me to release more music. Ever since I started performing, because of the school and everything, I would say that music definitely became more of just a thing I have to do it's my meditation. I need to do it to keep sane with my busy day to day. But I should release. There's so much stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Actually, there might be some work with. We had a Nigerian artist graduating BeatLab about 6 months ago. She's humongous in Nigeria.
Really?
Huge. Like she just got like she passed 7 million on Instagram.
Oh,
like
wow.
you know, that really big artist in
That's
Nigeria,
awesome.
and she really got me into Afrobeat. Hence the instant Afro and all those.
Yeah.
So I have a pack of beats. We might find some artists locally to Nigeria so we can make some Afrobeat.
That would be really cool.
So that is awesome. Another artist I'm working with, more of a kind of a modern blues artist. I'm just adding some beats. and another few female vocalists, trip hop and more kind of like booty shake stuff. So
Yeah.
just kind of couple of artists I'm working with right now, but nothing nothing too much.
I mean, that's fun though, because you said you like to listen and produce all types of different genres, and so now you get the chance to collaborate with like all different types of people, students, in other
And
areas.
it's so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really
so
cool. That's something I tell my students too, is just collaboration is key. Like the more you do it, the better you're gonna get, the more you're gonna stretch yourself. It's a beautiful thing. So
It is. I have to stop kind of converting my sessions with other musicians to Ableton classes. Just naturally, I'm like, oh, you can do this. Oh, check this out. You can do that. Like
Yeah.
in the middle of the session. I mean, they'll appreciate it, but
right.
that would be great to find someone who's so savvy in Ableton and a musician
Yeah.
that I don't need to show them like, hey, you can do this faster.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
No,
that's my main issue.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I keep doing Sidebrain stuff because I love the music that you've released.
Oh,
And
thanks, man.
yeah, so maybe in the next year or so we can see some new Sidebrain projects popping out.
For sure. I do have a few in the like ready to go. I just need to release them. It's like once you finish the music, I'm done. I'm good. I even feel cool that I'm the only one who's listened to it. And then there's all this stage of proof to the audience that it's real that you have to go through, because you can't just put it out there. You have to do like a cover. You have to like maybe
all the marketing and everything.
Actually have people listen to it and stuff. So that stage I don't like so much. Unless I don't, in general, I just don't like it.
Honestly, it's just more work to do on the to-do list for me, but it's necessary if you want to go that route as an artist, for sure.
Oh, I guess 6 months ago, I did do a series of Instagram. It's still on my Instagram. It's featured story of a bunch of beats of mine. I'm just rapping in Hebrew on them.
Cool.
So if anyone wants on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Yeah, that's a good segue. How's the best way for people to connect with you, to follow what you're doing?
I would say the best way is Sidebrain everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and sidebrain.net, the actual blog. But my main activity, my main work, everything that I do is on beatlabacademy.com. That's the actual school. We're located in Los Angeles. We have a lot of programs. So if anyone's interested, that's what I mainly do. Oh, and by the way, if anyone is interested in hearing this anytime soon, we also have a lot of free master classes we just released that people can just go and check out. So beatlabacademy.com.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll include those links in the show notes for all of you guys listening out there right now. I know you're a busy guy. I'll let you go. But yeah, and
thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.